While isolating from COVID-19 in March 2020, I got this great news via email. Congratulations, Vinay. You have just been accepted to study the Master of Public Policy at the Blavatnik School of Government, University of Oxford. For the next 10 days, it was a party for one as I got COVID. I was isolating with plenty of ginger and terrible cough medicine, but there was nothing to do to celebrate. I would go on to defer my entry as I was still working in the hospital at that time, but for those 10 days, I had all the time in the world to think and of course binge every Lord of the Rings film extended version.
What's taters, precious? What's taters, huh?
Potatoes. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
And anything else you can think of on Netflix. But really what I was thinking was, am I good enough to attend the University of Oxford? What if I say something stupid in front of the whole class? To be honest, that happened many times. What if I get kicked out for doing something wrong? The inferiority complex was potent, but these 3 things from a professor helped me survive at Oxford. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Dr. Vinay Raniga, a former political leadership scholar at the University of Oxford. I'm passionate about 2 things: discovering what makes countries grow as a macro and what helps people grow in their personal lives. Let's dive into it. The 3 main things my professor told me were number 1, reading, number 2, dinners, and number 3, walks. Now bear with me, they are more interesting than you think, but they need some context. At Oxford, each term is split into 8 weeks. Michaelmas, Hilary, and Trinity. They're based on the religious calendar. In essence, they are the autumn term, winter term, and spring term that last in total 24 weeks. That's 8 weeks shorter than the UK national average for universities and 16 weeks shorter than Harvard or Yale. We're still better though. It seems insane, but the university does it to challenge students intensely in a short time period because it's also the tradition. That means to maximize your time here, or even at any university, college, or new job, my professor told me these 3 things, and they are crucial. Reading. This sounds really simple, but doing your reading is the most important part of your academic experience at Oxford. There will be a range of things to choose from every night, from bops to balls to society events, external lectures all across the city. Oxford during the term is like a social and academic theme park. The choice is endless. However, not doing the basics like reading leads to 3 things. Number 1, falling behind on your work. The terms are short, and you'll most likely have multiple essays. Not getting through the reading list means it's really difficult to catch up later. Number 2, it's harder to pay attention in lectures or external events. Hopefully you enjoy the subject you've chosen. Not reading will mean that lectures won't really make sense, and you'll have less to share when influential external speakers come to visit, and your professors will ultimately know at your tutorials. So the last 2, of course, are definitely fear-mongering. That's not really why you should do your reading. The most important is number 3. Not doing the reading means you miss out on a wealth of knowledge and the ability just to really know your stuff. This skill is absolutely critical for your future. I remember the first 15-minute meeting with the Dean of the School of Government. Now at this point, I'm a fully grown 28-year-old adult, but I was still nervous as if I'd been sent to see the head teacher at primary school. She told me the same advice. She said, Vinay, I can see that you might have some skills in public speaking, but to really excel, you can't get distracted with too many socials. You should read 2 to 3 hours every day. The readings itself are so important, but the skill of learning to sit down with complicated literature will last you throughout your career. I know this sounds really basic, but in the public and private sector, we really need better leaders who are on top of their brief. There is definitely a skill in being able to blag your way through something.
That is a disgrace.
But I believe that's not personally rewarding. Being on top of the facts and learning the skill to be curious through focused work is crucial for our future. So a few practical things you can do, and I did this to read more. First thing is time block your diary. This is time especially just to read. It's a commitment. Like a social event or meeting someone for coffee, it's unbreakable. If you don't show up, there'll be consequences. To make it easier, try to do this in the morning when less things are happening. Number 2, have a study group. Work together as a team to read more and explain to each other what you're reading. I found this valuable during my time at Oxford. Number 3, use a system of note-taking and, importantly, organize the notes that you have to give you easy access to them when you need them in the future. One new method I found really great is by Tiago Forte called the Para Method. He writes about this in his book, Building a Second Brain, which I highly recommend. The second thing my professor said was dinners. Now, the University of Oxford has a special system of colleges. Within Oxford itself, there are 43 colleges which a student can belong to. That means you belong to a faculty, for example, I was at the School of Government, and a separate college called, well, I was at St. Cross. Most colleges have dinners in the evening called formal hall, where you dress up smart and wear a gown. Yes, it's a little like Harry Potter, and yes, the Great Hall in Harry Potter is based off the Great Hall at Christ Church College. There are, of course, loads of dinners across the city too. Why I say dinners or coffees or lunches. Why this is important is because these dinners and coffees is a great way of meeting new people across different faculties. Otherwise, you just stay in your silo.
My dad's a muggle. Mum's a witch.
It's also a great way of exchanging ideas with people, hopefully with what you've been reading. And studies show that increases social bonding, feelings of well-being, and enhances one's sense of contentedness and embedding oneself within a community. This is absolutely essential to combat the stress of the term. And not to sound like a total loser, going to these dinners develops a soft social skill that travels with you throughout life. I remember going to one formal dinner, and remember at this point I'm still a 28-year-old grown adult male, where there were ministers and there were very high profile people, and I remember sitting next to a Gen Z 19-year-old holding sophisticated, intelligent conversation with them, and I was looking around and I was just thinking, have you ever gone to Krispy Kreme?
Have you ever had a Krispy Kreme? Have you ever gone to Krispy Kreme? Was it crispy?
No.
Yeah, right.
So definitely go to these dinners. The final thing my professor told me was go on walks. Oxford itself is a great place to walk, whether it's Christchurch Meadows, Magdalen, University Parks, or just down the River Thames. Walking in nature is a hidden superpower that is scientifically backed to help with your mental health, creativity, and social connections. You may have heard of someone called the glucose goddess, who's a big proponent of walking after eating to lower that glucose spike from all the dinners I've told you to go on. In Oxford, you also have this term called the Oxford Stone, which literally means putting on weight from eating too much at formals. So there are many health reasons to go on walks, but let's focus on the other benefits. Going on walks can improve our social connections with others. There is no doubt university for many can be a lonely place. Loneliness is a hidden epidemic among students, with nearly all students saying they felt lonely at least once during the academic year. Going on a walk with a friend, and walking side by side actually, is an easier way to strike up deeper and more meaningful conversations at university. The final benefit of walking is to digest knowledge and ideas. The cultural narrative, especially at Oxford, is putting in the hard graft gets results. There's no doubt putting in the work is essential to success, for example, doing your reading. But there is another scientific technique to let ideas flow and help you be more creative. This is called mind wandering. So this is really simplified, but scientists believe there are areas of the brain that are focused on logical, analytical tasks, and others called the default mode network, which is a state that your brain is not actively engaged. Studies find that mind wandering or positive constructive daydreaming, characterized by not overly planning, pleasant thoughts, vivid and wishful imagery, and curiosity, is associated with activity in this default mode network and increased creativity. John Cunios, co-author of the Eureka Factor, Aha Moments, Creative Insight and the Brain, writes that switching from cognitive demanding work to mind wandering by going for a walk, taking a warm bath, or gardening without listening to music or a podcast can activate the DMN and aid creativity. When you do this, he says, in a state of psychological safety, where there's no danger of having an unusual thought or no immediate task to perform, that's when you can really unlock that creativity within you. That's why some of the best ideas come when you're in the shower, because of this system. Spending time in nature can evoke a sense of awe and induce relaxation that really aids mind wandering. Kunios adds, taking a walk in nature can improve your mood, expand your thoughts to include remote ideas and associations. This can help your subconscious take over where your conscious brain has reached an impasse. For students, sometimes you might be thinking, that's hard, because it feels like you have to be doing something, especially if you're looking at Instagram or social media. What's the point of going on a walk without your headphones? What's the point of running without Strava? Or what's the point of not doing something with a purpose in mind? However, leaving any sort of media behind and again, scheduling guilt-free time in for a walk for yourself is a deep investment in your creativity. So that's what my professor told me: reading, dinners, and walks. I hope these 3 seemingly simple things were helpful on how to maximize your time at university or any stage of life that you're in. If you enjoyed my video, please hit that subscribe button and let me know what you thought in the comments below. See you next time.